What's up, guys? I'm Frosty the Sandwich, and I'm a Celestial now, which means you are going to have to pray to me daily, and I do require one sacrifice of a goat annually in my honor. But let's not get into the details. You guys are here for the Groot gameplay. I did just rank into Celestial, so this was a Celestial 3 game, and right off the bat, we're gonna ban Wolverine twice. I think it's a very high value thing to do to ban the same target twice. There's nothing wrong with it. You should strive to do it in your games. No, seriously, sometimes it's just gonna happen. One thing you might want to think about is maybe not banning the person at the top of your list, because the likelihood of the other enemy, the other team, having them at the top of their list is pretty high. So maybe go for Storm there instead, or maybe even just do a tier 2 pick and see what they do, and then fill in the gap. So I would maybe Luna or Hulk, to see if they go for Wolverine or Storm, so you don't double up on them, and then you do the other one the second time. Of course, they could still do it. Like, there's all sorts of things that could go wrong. I think double ups are kind of inevitable the way they have it right now. I really do think it would be nice if you just like did an order banning phase instead of doing it at the same time. But whatever, we'll see. They might change that down the road. But that's enough about bans. Back to Groot. As you can see, I've changed my playstyle a little bit. I used to play more of an in-your-face brawly style, and I play a little bit more passive now. And don't try and get quite up in their face. I will still absolutely cut off the enemy team if they give me opportunities, but I don't necessarily try and close the gap in melee people as much as I used to. I still think it's fun, and you can absolutely get away with it in quick play, but I've found that in higher ranked games I just get punished more often for doing it than I get any value or success. So I've stopped trying to get in people's face in melee so much. I just love hitting people with that third melee. It feels so good and juicy when you do it. But I do think playing at mid-range is probably better for Groot, as opposed to playing close range. You want to come in close when you can cut somebody off, but you want to stay at mid-range, I think, until that opportunity presents itself. And that's what you're going to see me do here a lot. And basically just look for those tanks to push up. Maybe push into the... I pushed up a little bit here, but that's because we've already got one tank. And so we do basically have a 6v5, so we should technically win this just by default if our team does well. So we're just walking up here. But what you saw there was basically me waiting for the tanks to push up a little bit past the team, and then I wall them off. And that is no different than what you would have seen in the previous game for me. The things that have changed is my placement of my E-wall, and you're about to see an example of that. And the main reason I'm doing this is for survivability. This thing does give you a good amount of shield and health. Like, you'll actually see it when you just hang around. And so just putting it in spots where it's hard for them to deal with. Like, I do think it could be a little bit more to the right here, but honestly, like, this is very good placement because I can always just drop back and get some healing, because as long as I'm right next to that wall, you're getting increased healing, and you can even get shield on Groot from being next to it. So if you find it dying and not giving you a lot of value, try placing it basically like I did there. And so the idea is, if they did push up into me, I could start building the Thornlash walls basically like on it to enclose them next to the wall and try and trap them in. That opportunity just doesn't really present itself here, so you don't see that happen. But I am basically playing around the wall, and you'll see, like, if I start to lose health or my team starts to lose the fight, I'm always gravitating back towards this wall. And I go down there because I think I was just a little too far away from it. And I do think they actually did have presence of mind to finally deal with it. And good players will understand what that wall does for you and try and destroy it, even if it's not in their way. But a lot of times, if you place it in spots like that and you're in their face and the rest of your team's with you, they're not going to shoot at it, because there's no... It's not bringing you it like if it's not giving you any cover or value, they're a lot less likely to shoot at a wall than they are the rest of the enemy team that's literally in their face. So you can get a lot of value out of the wall that way. You can also do something similar with the Thornlash walls, is build them to the side like that and let somebody like let the enemy team like push in front of them, because they'll actually proc and whip them from like a side angle, and it's a lot less likely for them to destroy the walls when they're not directly in their face. In fact, like they might think you're trolling until you throw a seed at them and they get whipped and die immediately. The walls deal an insane amount of damage on Groot. And the wombo combo is still the same, although I don't think I really pull off a good one in this game, and that's something I'm still working on, is just finding good value in my ultimates. I think I'm a little too trigger happy with his ultimate, and I could probably be a little more patient. Here again, we're placing the wall to the side, making it just hard for them to deal with. It doesn't really at face value to them look like it's bringing any utility to the team, so they're very likely to just leave it alone. And that's exactly what we want them to do, so we get the benefit of it healing. Now, that being said, I do think that this is a trade-off, which I guess I haven't discussed yet. I'm losing out the value of using it as cover and using it to trap the enemy. So you do want to think about, I guess, more or less like what spots on the map you want to do this on and what spots you want to start swap styles, because I do recommend swapping your style throughout the map. Play different styles and make yourself a little less predictable, especially as Groot. Play an ambush style, play campy, and then swap it up and maybe go for some flanks again. You could definitely flank on Groot. It might not be the most advisable strategy, but it absolutely can work, and you can absolutely base lock people with this character. In fact, you can kind of disgustingly base lock people with this character because of what you're about to see right here. If you get into the backline, and I'm not necessarily condoning this, especially in a ranked game, you should stick with your team, but you could just wall that off. Like if you get a pick on somebody, you can, and you're close to the base, you can just go wall off an entire entry point, like wait for them to come in that direction or confirm that they're coming that direction and then put those walls up. A lot of characters struggle to get through those walls, especially if you stack the Ironwood wall with the Thornlash walls. It's very hard to deal with for a lot of characters. One other thing about the bans to note, though, is as a tank player, you want Wolverine gone. You do not want to play against a Wolverine, especially if you're going to have two tanks on your team, which was the case here. The more tanks on your team, the more value Wolverine's going to get. And so, yeah, you definitely want him banned. Again, right off the bat, we're going to put our Ironwood wall over out of their sight line, and that's to start. A lot of times I don't think I really showcase it very well in this game, unfortunately, but a lot of times when they do start to push up, I'll then remove it. I kind of keep it there so I can just poke out and poke into the enemy team, and then I've always got like this shield and this barrier, so even when they're poking me back, it doesn't really bring them a whole lot of value. And then when they do finally push up into the space where I can start cutting people off, I'll usually unbuild the wall, so I get a little bit better cooldown on it, and then I'll start using it to isolate targets. Here, I think that I just didn't have the recognition that they were pushing as hard as they were, as quickly as they were, and my team was going to give them all that space, so I didn't back up nearly as quickly as I needed to there, and I just went down, and my entire team went down essentially. But yeah, just unfortunate, wasn't paying attention, kind of tunneled on the enemy team, but again, we're right back here on a choke. Huge ult there. Unfortunately, our team doesn't quite follow up on it very quickly. They come right in here, as you can see, but yeah, it just hurts. I definitely should have saved that for when the team was ready or communicate. I did not communicate that in any way. So that is definitely on me as the tank player to communicate. You always want to try and communicate your ults to your team. And it doesn't necessarily even need to be through the voice chat. You could just ping. And the ping system's pretty good. You could either just ping the spot and then say like your ultimate status or your ultimate's ready. And that usually gets the point across to people. And those are all things you can do with just buttons and not needing to talk or communicate with people. If you're a dungeon lord, I don't know what to say. You know who I'm talking about. You know who's in their basement all day. It was me. I was that kid. Still am sort of that kid, except I'm in an apartment. The cute ass dog just laying next to me. She's so cute. Sorry, I'm gonna bring back the puppy cam eventually, guys. Let me know if you want to see a puppy cam in the videos. I'd totally be willing to add that. Here we're just waiting for them to push into us. It is definitely their play. We do have the cart pushing back into us, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to be on it. And we get a pretty good ult there. Unfortunately, I think we only actually got one kill. I thought I got 2 kills there. Watching it back, I do believe that was only one. But still, you're looking for the squishies still. In my opinion, nothing's changed there for me. And in fact, one trick I have started to use, I didn't use it in this game, I don't think, is to push yourself up on your ironwood wall and then ult while you're on top of it. Here we unfortunately do go down to the Strange. I don't think it was the wrong thing to try and cut him off there, but we needed somebody else with us. I think up close Strange kind of wins the 1v1 against you unless he's close enough to both of those Thornlash walls for them to deal damage, which he was not. And in fact, I do wish they increased the range a little bit on his Thornlash walls, because there's a lot of times where I feel like they should be swinging at people and they're just barely out of range. Like in that case, I really do feel like they should have been hitting that Strange, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me being a biased group player. It's fine. Another thing to note is, I'm sure most of you guys know, if you hold down shift and click, you can basically do both the walls at the same time really quickly. You can actually do that on your ramp too. So you can build the ramp super quickly as well. And I actually did that. There's an example of that. If you go back maybe 10 seconds or so. Here we're basically just waiting for them to push back. We don't really want to push too much further up. This is a really good choke to hold right here. And whenever you give them line of sight from their base, that basically means they can deal damage to you for free. And there's nothing you can do back to them. So you definitely don't want to push too far up here. There can be some cases where you can hold like all the way up at that gate, because you can also deny line of sight. But I definitely don't recommend just standing in that archway or going past it. Also, something I guess I haven't really talked about yet, and it's because I don't think we've seen one on the enemy team so far, is I really like picking Groot against Magneto. I think Magneto's one of the strongest tanks in ranked right now. In fact, if you go to the leaderboard right now and if you look at the top players, just scan through maybe the top 10 to the top 20 players and count how many of them play either Strange or Magneto. It's the majority of them. And I think there's a reason for that, to be completely honest. And one of the I actually do see a fair amount of group players up there, not nearly as many as Magneto or Strange players, but I think it actually might be skewed in Magneto's favor. I haven't done any hard math on it, so don't quote me on that. It could be completely wrong, but it's just a feeling I have. But I feel like there's more Magneto players in top 20 than any other one tricks. Like if you go through the stats, a lot of people at the top have a lot of time on Magneto. And I think he's just a really good tank. And I think because he's good, he makes Groot good, because I think Groot is a really good counter pick tank into Magneto, because he just doesn't have an answer for you cutting him off or walling him from the enemy team. His only answer is to ult, and that's just not a good use of his ultimate. His ultimate's very effective at removing supports, which are huge in the meta right now, and denying a support their ult is game changing. So I think his ultimate is much better used for that than escaping Groot walls. And other than that, he's just pinned. He doesn't have mobility. So I think Groot is an incredibly good pick into him. And Strange too, if you see Strange uses Levitate, he's basically a sitting duck at that point as well. But Strange Levitate, like obviously Strange, you have to play around the Levitate. But yeah, other than that, I think Groot is incredibly strong this season. I did start lacking a little bit on playing him because I felt like I was getting punished, and it was because of my playstyle. I do think playing a little bit more passive and not going up in people's faces as much, I've had more success, at least at the higher ranks. Like once I hit like GM and Celestial, it definitely felt like if I tried to close the gap on people, I was just getting punished immediately for it. But yeah, other than that, that was Groot. Thank you guys so much for watching this. If you learned something, please let me know in the comments. If you didn't like it, let me know. Let me know what I could be doing better. I'm always looking to get better. I'm definitely going to keep doing stuff like this. And until next time, stay frosty.